At my sister's wedding, she smiled like she was about to perform a magic trick, and I was the volunteer she planned to saw in half. She clinked her champagne glass, leaned toward a man in a charcoal Tom Ford suit, and gestured in my direction like I was a stain she'd finally noticed. "Mr. Harrington," she said brightly, her voice slicing through the music and laughter. "There's someone I absolutely need you to meet." The jazz quartet softened. Conversations stalled. Heads turned. My stomach sank. "This," she announced, resting her manicured hand on my arm, "is my brother Elliot, the embarrassment of our family." She laughed first. High, sharp, practiced. My parents followed, my father chuckling from the head table, my mother covering her mouth like she'd just heard the punchline of the year. "We stopped expecting much from Elliot about a decade ago," my dad added casually. "At least we have one successful child," my mother said, smiling at Vanessa. The words didn't sting. They crushed. 38 years old. 14 years in financial consulting. Hundreds of businesses helped. Millions saved. And in this room, inside the Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom, beneath crystal chandeliers and $18,000 worth of wedding dress silk, I was still nothing. Still invisible. Still the joke. Vanessa's fingers tightened around my arm, nails pressing into skin, as if daring me to react. Her smile was too wide, too polished, the kind of smile that warned blood was coming. Richard Harrington didn't laugh. He stood still, champagne flute frozen halfway to his lips, eyes scanning the scene. Not just Vanessa, not just my parents, but the entire dynamic like a man reading a balance sheet that didn't add up. He set the glass down untouched. "What kind of consulting do you do?" he asked quietly. I blinked. He was looking directly at me. "Financial consulting," I said. "Corporate restructuring. I help small and mid-sized businesses avoid bankruptcy." "How long?" 14 years. He nodded once. "Interesting." Then he turned to Vanessa. "Vanessa," he said evenly, "I need you in my office Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp." Her smile faltered. He adjusted his cufflinks, glanced once more around the room, and said the words that detonated the evening. "Because you're fired." Silence crashed down like broken glass. Vanessa's grip on my arm went slack. My parents stared. No one laughed now. 20 minutes later, I claimed a headache and left the wedding I had practically planned myself. The vendors I negotiated, the money I fronted, the contracts I saved her thousands on. I drove home with shaking hands, the echo of laughter still ringing in my ears. I had been the invisible one my entire life. Vanessa was 4 years younger, but she'd always been the sun. Drama club lead, homecoming queen, full scholarship to Boston University. Her photos covered my parents' walls like proof of success. Mine? A college degree earned while working 3 jobs. A card my mother forgot to sign. 3 months before the wedding, Vanessa called. "Elliot, I need help with a few vendor things. You're good at boring logistics." Those few things became 12 vendors. A caterer overcharging, a florist padding invoices, a venue contract I renegotiated, saving her over $4,000. When she forgot her checkbook, I fronted $3,000 for the photographer. She never paid me back. At the reception, I was seated at table 14, near the kitchen, with cousins who barely remembered my name. Monday morning, I arrived at my office to find a black Mercedes S-Class waiting. Richard Harrington stepped out. "I was hoping you had time to talk," he said. Inside my modest office, he looked around, not with pity, but respect. "Do you remember Harrington Home Furnishings?" he asked. I froze. "I was 2 weeks from bankruptcy," he continued. "My father had just died. I didn't know what I was doing. And then you walked in." Memory slammed into me. "You worked 6 weeks for free," he said. "You saved my business. Everything I have exists because of that." He opened a portfolio. "I didn't fire Vanessa because of what she said at the wedding. I fired her because she's been stealing from the company for 18 months. Expense fraud, stolen credit, forged reports. And one more thing," he added carefully. "She tried to frame you. Fake emails, my name, my advice. Metadata proved the truth. If this had worked," he said, "you'd be facing criminal charges." I couldn't breathe. My own sister had tried to destroy me. 2 weeks later, I found the final betrayal. My grandfather's education fund, $95,000, split evenly in his will. Vanessa received hers. Mine? Taken by my parents. Given to her. I worked 3 jobs and ate ramen while she lived debt-free. On my inheritance. When Vanessa called, desperate and shaking, begging me to lie for her, I hung up. When my parents minimized everything, I confronted them with bank records. Silence told me everything. 4 weeks after the wedding, my Aunt Margaret gathered the family. She didn't mince words. For 38 years, she said, you ignored the wrong child. She told them about the medical bills I paid, the loans I co-signed, the lives I quietly held together. This is the man you called an embarrassment. No one spoke. 6 weeks later, Vanessa came to my office. Broken. Honest. I see you now, she said. I always thought you were weak. I was wrong. She didn't ask for forgiveness. That mattered. 8 weeks later, my parents sat across from me, pictures removed, voices shaking. We failed you, my mother cried. I stole from you, my father said, because I thought she mattered more. I didn't forgive them. Not yet. But I didn't walk away either. 6 months later, Richard Harrington and I launched the Second Chance Initiative, pro bono restructuring for struggling businesses. The first client cried when I said it was free. Why would you help me? She asked. Because someone once helped me. And I learned something important. The invisible ones aren't weak. They're just quietly carrying everyone else until the truth finally shows its face. And when it does, it changes everything.